Hey, it's Melissa. I'm the publisher and writer at Wanging Dude Publishing. Thank you so much for being part of the channel. And if you would like to subscribe, I'd love it. And if you would like to support the channel, I would love it. And you can find out all about that down below. I wanted to share the feelings of passing the manuscript on to the editor. I'd mentioned in an earlier video how so many people think, like in Misery, is that it's just the one movie I think of with James Caan being the writer. And then when he was done with a book, he would always like have a cigarette or, I forgot there's probably more to the routine than that. But I just remember he had this set thing and practice he would do when he would finish a book. And I did not have that same experience because you can keep going. And I'm also mentioned in a previous video that you can keep going. It never ends. You can always think of new ideas. I'm taping this as the book is with the editor, and I already thought of two other stories. I forgot this one, and I forgot to mention this thing. So when the book comes back, we're going to have to put it in there. So again, it's not this, oh my gosh, it's over and I'm handing it over. So that is one of the things I wanted to reiterate is you're not going to feel like it's done. I mean, there may be some authors that feel that way, and that's great. But I'm assuming the majority just like, oh, I just have to get it done. I have to get this to the editor. Otherwise, it'll never get done. And again, I encourage you, if you're doing this on your own, to get an editor so that you have a second pair of eyes looking at this thing. But when I'm trying to think, when's the last? It was either the morning of, I think it was the morning of that I submitted the manuscript to the editor that was still putting things in. And one of the last things, I'll be honest with you, before I gave it to the editor was putting the titles to the chapters in. Because I hadn't done that. I didn't include the table of contents because I wasn't sure how she was going to not only edit the punctuation pronunciation, the punctuation and different things. But I was also wondering if she was going to rearrange things. And so I'm like, I'm leaving, there's the page that's blank for table of contents. But I already had told her that I was leaving that blank. But the chapter titles, I wasn't, I wanted to write the chapter before I titled the chapter. And because I found that writing the chapter title beforehand was tough, just like writing, naming the book until I knew what the book was about. And even though I know the book is about me and my health. But again, it's one of those things. I'm the person when I have an animal and I have a new pet that I have to have the pet in my home for a few days and sometimes a few weeks before I name them because I need to get to know their personality. So a name to me is very important. And so the titles, that was the last thing I was doing and rushing. And then Evan said, when I sent him, like, you feel free to change the name of the title, or the chapter titles rather. Feel free to change the name of the chapter titles. So in other words, handing it over was heart relief because, okay, there's a deadline I just met, right? I was going to finish the first draft and I've sent it over. Then there was a slight bit of embarrassment because if you've never done it before, or maybe seasoned authors still feel this way, but it's a part of you. And now somebody else is seeing it. And it's like, oh, is it as good as I thought? Is it better than I thought? Or is it, the first thing that comes to everybody's mind, oh, is she going to red slash like a teacher, give me a bad grade? And then you got to remember they work for you. So it's not like the editor's going to come back and say, well, your book sucks and you shouldn't send this out. It's more of the editor's there to make what you're trying to create better. Right. And so there's all kinds of emotions that come with it. But I highly encourage you to hire an editor and do that process. But just remember that it's like you're still running, like a track star still runs when they're handing the baton off to the next, teammate when you're doing a relay. And so it's not like you stop and like, oh, done, here you go. It's like, oh, I can still do this. I can still do the chapter titles. I can still do another chapter. I'm sure I could do more. And you just like, oh, here, just take it. Just take it. Just take it. And I think of that hesitant mother who's exhausted and the sister or the husband or the friend comes over and says, you need a nap. Let me take the baby. And so I think I needed a nap and she took the baby. So we'll see how that goes. But I wanted to share some of those feelings because I still have things I'm going to do to it when I get it back. Again, thank you for being part of the journey. If you have any suggestions on what you want to talk about, or if you're an author and want to start a conversation in the comments below about how you have handled that, or why an editor has been very important to you, I would love for you to share that. So you can do that down below. Again, you can find ways to support the channel down below. Otherwise, I hope you subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.